Thanks very much, Avery. Well, Black Lives Matter has released a statement in regards to the tragedy in Dallas. Of course, it took place at an event in support of their group. It reads in part, yesterday's attack was the result of the actions of a lone gunman. To assign the actions of one person to an entire movement is dangerous and irresponsible. We continue our efforts to bring about a better world for all of us. Now, of course, there is the belief up here that race relations are better than south of the border. Now, I just spoke with Janiyah Khan from Black Lives Matter Toronto, and she feels the issue is very much a problem here.
I think we're in a moment of intense tension, which really to us symbolizes growth, but really we need to start talking about racism in Canada, in Ontario, and in Toronto as if it's real, because it is.
Janiyah Khan says the numbers back her up. Black Canadians make up less than 3% of the population, but she says are 10% of the prison population.
The occurrences that take place around carding, how when it was at its height, black people were 4 times more likely to be carded than any other population. I think we really need to consider the fact that racism exists here. It has always existed here.
So what is the solution? Khan says allowing marginalized groups to frame their needs rather than being told would be a start.
Public safety needs to really consider access around employment, needs to consider engagements with the police, it needs to consider educational practices, and the school-to-prison pipeline that exists here for so many Black and Indigenous youth. So I think we need multiple interventions, and there's multiple ways we can go about it.
Black Lives Matter Toronto has come to the forefront of the discussion with its controversial protests, such as blocking the Pride Parade. Khan says those tactics will not go by the wayside.
Our job at Black Lives Matter Toronto is to apply pressure on the ground when other interventions have failed. That's what we did at Pride, and that's what we'll continue to do, because unfortunately when that pressure is not there, we are not seeing the type of response around more inclusion in this country.
No justice, no peace, no racist police. No.
As for the police, Khan says they have never refused to work with them, but they will only do so on their terms.
We believe in transparency and we believe in accountability, and so because they're not going to meet us in that place to have a public meeting, it hasn't actually gone through.
And finally, Dallas does the attack there, where a sniper killed 5 police officers and wounded 7 other officers, change things for Black Lives Matter Toronto? Khan says no.
When we look at something like what's happening in the States, we really need to be mindful that this has a direct result of the types of tensions that come out of police brutality and the reaction that might happen as a result.
Now, one activist and lawyer here in the GTA says it is important to recognize the distinction between the Black Lives Matter in the States and the one up here in Toronto, which is gaining momentum.
I think the contexts are different. I mean, the American context is not the same context as Canada. I mean, Canada has a totally different system of justice and a totally different system of government and a totally different mindset than the Republican style of governance and the sort of, you know, everyone has the right to bear arms, etc. in the United States. I think the culture in the United States is totally different.
If you want to read the full statement from Black Lives Matter, it's on our website, citynews.ca. Let's head over now to Amanda Ferguson with reaction from our policing community. Amanda.